Region without first declaring private ownership of firearms illegal. So there will be continuing steps to tighten up on the control of firearms within the United States, and then sometime in the year 2005 they will outlaw them completely. And this is a deliberate plan to bring the militias out, have them create a civil uprising so that they can have justification for martial law. They have already created concentration camps on most, if not all, of the military bases in the United States, and the purpose is not to harbor or to house terrorists as they're arrested. It's to house the militia that are arrested when they create the civil uprising and protest of the outlawing of private ownership of weapons. And they've already enacted what they call enemy combatants, and when they label a person an enemy combatant, even though they may be a citizen of the United States, they will be denied all their civil rights under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They will not be tried in civil courts, but tried in military tribunals. So after we've had this major economic crisis and major civil uprising within the United States, the President of the United States will then be justified under the law to declare martial law, which voids the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and is a prelude to the creation of the American Union. Now let's talk about the real reasons why the United States military forces have been involved in the last three wars. The war in Kosovo happened because they needed to send troops in there to take over control of that area so that they could have a route for a pipeline from the Caspian Sea oil fields westward to a saltwater port. And that's the major reason that our troops went to Kosovo and are still there. Then the President sent our military force into Afghanistan. The troops had already been shipped into the area and were ready to go into Afghanistan even before 9/11 happened. But our troops are there to guarantee that the elite can establish their central bank, which they've already done in the year 2002. The CIA wanted to gain complete control of the poppy fields of Afghanistan because that region is responsible for 70% of the opium that's sold around the world. And the oil companies wanted to run a 48-inch gas pipeline from the Caspian Sea oil fields through Afghanistan, Pakistan, south to a saltwater port. They also wanted a route through Afghanistan to run both gas and oil pipelines into China, because China is in desperate need of energy sources. Then we had our troops sent to Iraq for very similar reasons, to establish a central bank in Iraq, and that was done around mid-year of 2003. They needed to gain control of the oil fields of Iraq. Many people have been saying for years that Iraq had the world's second largest supply of oil. There are now speculation that they could possibly have more oil reserves than Saudi Arabia. Now, Iraq has never been a threat to the United States, but they have been a direct threat to Israel, and so our troops are sent there to protect Israel, not the United States. Then they also wanted to get the U.S. citizens' minds off of the near depression that we're in now, and will later turn into a possible depression. And they want to get the citizens' minds off of the creation of the free trade area of the Americas, which will then become the American Union. I hope that I have alerted you and maybe alarmed you with the knowledge of what is coming. And I don't think that the danger will be in 2004 because this is a presidential year. But I suspect that in the year 2005 and certainly by 2006 they will have created the American Union, which after they finish the Pacific Union and possibly a Soviet Union, which will be a rejuvenation of the former communist nations. But this time these regions of the Soviet Union will not be under communist control but under the elite control. So let's get into things that you need to do to prepare for these events that are coming certainly in the year 2005. I don't think it'll be sooner and not a whole lot later than 2005, but you need to get ready because they're on the way. We're certainly living in troubled times. Now, what should we do about it? Many people in the United States went through a lot of preparation for the Y2K, which turned out to not be a major crisis, probably because everyone was too prepared for it. But what you did in Y2K is just a blip on what you should do to prepare for the American Union crisis. So I would advise everyone to do everything that you were advised to do in preparation for Y2K, but instead of planning for just a couple of weeks of emergency supplies and actions, you might be better preparing for at least 1 to 2 years of very hard times. So this is going to be at least 10 times the threat that Y2K was in terms of your daily quality of life. You should get your personal finances as clean as you possibly can. I know everyone can't do that, but you should certainly minimize your risk, and you need to minimize your debt, pay off as many loans as you can, credit cards and so forth, because the banks will probably be foreclosing on the assets of a lot of people due to economic hardship. And certainly avoid stocks, bonds, and commodities. These markets are controlled by the elite, so whatever cash you have or finances you have on hand are available to you. Keep them in a cash-like basis, either in a CD, in a savings account of some sort in a bank, but never have more than $100,000 in any one bank. And because if the federal government insures bank assets up to $100,000 per person, but be very, very careful about your cash in the next 3 years at least. And besides protecting your financial assets, you need to protest to all your elected officials loud, clear, and as long as you could stand it. Because the only way they're going to do anything about it is if they hear enough flack from the citizenry, and they just will say, well, the public doesn't care because nobody's really raised any stink about it.